Day.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this session at DynamicsCon for Business Central. I'm Shannon Mullins, a Microsoft MVP. I'm very excited to be voted in today and to have won your votes to talk about Teams and Business Central. And thank you for the DynamicsCon community and all the organizers and participants today. We're very, very excited for this presentation. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so today's topic is top 10 tips and tricks for using Dynamics BC with Microsoft Teams. A lot of people know both products or have heard of both products, hopefully, if you're attending the session today. I'm going to talk about ways that you can collaborate and use both products together. So I'm going to be giving you some 10 tips and tricks based off different areas of your organization and who can use Teams with Business Central and how to kind of centralize those processes and make them really easy for your team. But before we do that, we'll start off with a little introduction. My name is Shannon Mullins. I am a Dynamics end user and consultant for over 21 years. I started out with Dynamics GP and been in the BC space for about 4 years now. I am a Microsoft MVP of Business Applications, along with some of my other fellow presenters today. And I love Dynamics Business Central, and I also love Microsoft Teams. So it's kind of my passion. Those are areas that I speak about. I am a national and international presenter for both Microsoft and the Dynamics community, based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and recently joined Arbela as the Chief Revenue Officer and Dynamics Director. We do Microsoft Security and Dynamics products, and very excited to be here presenting today. If you guys have any questions about me or anything about the presentation in itself, feel free to go over to the chat. We're going to have the chat up and running. The chat's always a fun place to come and join, and feel free to make any comments you want and any questions that you have, and we'll try to answer those as we go along and then after the session. So our agenda today is pretty simple. I'm going to give you a little bit of a Microsoft Teams overview and Business Central overview for those of you who may be new to either or product. Then we're going to talk about our top 10 tricks for using Microsoft Teams with Business Central, and then we'll go into a Q&A. So we'll have some time for questions at the end. I am recording myself. I am limited on time, so we'll try to cover as much as possible within that amount of time. All right, so starting off with the Teams and Business Central overview. So Microsoft Teams, one of the most popular products by Microsoft ever. For those of you who used to use Skype, I'm sure we all know what Skype is. Teams is the big brother, the golden brother that was replaced by Microsoft. And for many reasons, a lot of you may have joined a Teams call before, I'm sure you have, or chatted in the Teams application within your organization. Microsoft Teams is a chat-based workspace. A lot of people think of it as video, they think of it as chat, but it's got so much more capabilities, which I'm going to show you today. According to Microsoft Teams is the chat-based workspace in the Office 365 platform that integrates all the people, content, and tools your team needs to be engaged and effective. So what does that mean? It means a lot of things. It's going to be a tool for, obviously, video and meetings, breakout meetings. It's going to be a tool that you can incorporate different applications into, like Business Central, or maybe you have some project-based tools like Smartsheet or Microsoft Project. You can embed Visio if you're doing a lot of diagrams and meetings. It has a lot of collaboration tools. But what a lot of people don't know is it actually has a full collaboration and communication with SharePoint and with OneDrive. So you can use it also for document storage and facilitating your teams within Teams. So I'm going to be showing you a lot of that today. So thinking outside the box of just it being a normal chat, document storage, all those different pieces, I'm going to show you different ways that you can take lots of your different applications and put them all together and make one collaborative team. For those of you who are new to Business Central, what is Business Central? It is a comprehensive end-to-end ERP system. It ensures business continuity with a cloud solution that connects your sales, service, finance, operations, including manufacturing and jobs, teams to help them adapt and deliver results. It is an awesome ERP. So now I'm going to take the best of both worlds. I'm going to take Microsoft Teams and I'm going to take Business Central, and I'm going to show you today how you can collaborate with the two products to create some awesome teams for either your organization or if you're a consultant joining, how you can embed this into your clients' operations and show them how to get faster results. So that being said, let's start off with our tips and tricks. First one is going to be tip number 1, teams for document storage. So a lot of people ask me within the Dynamics 365 platform, whether that's customer engagement or Business Central, where can I share these documents? I'm going to save them and attach them to cards, attach them to accounts, attach them to transactions, but where are they ultimately going? So my recommendation, and the recommendation I know of a lot of consultants, is we want to share these in SharePoint. We want SharePoint to be our centralized document storage. Why SharePoint? Well, number 1, if you're using Microsoft 365, SharePoint is free, okay? It's included with your plans, typically if you're on an E3 or E5 license. SharePoint allows for all your users in your organization to give access to folders that users who may not have access to Business Central may have, or CRM. SharePoint allows for really detailed level security, so security at each file level, at page level, at site level. So it's got some really robust security. It allows for versioning where you can see different versions of your documents, and it fully connects with Microsoft Teams, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But in order to get your Business Central data into SharePoint, you are going to need a SharePoint connector. Now, could you build an API and pull the documents and push them with an API? Absolutely. Do I recommend it? No. Why? Because Eric over at eFocus has created a SharePoint connector. There is a free trial of the files that you can go and pull from AppSource. It is called SharePoint Connector, simple and basic. And the SharePoint Connector will allow you to map your attachments and your documents within Business Central into SharePoint automatically. So you set up the file structure, you set up the rules, and the connector will automatically sync those things into SharePoint. Where does that come in with Teams? Well, the cool thing about Teams is it will allow you to access Teams as a SharePoint folder. So I'm going to show you real quick in Teams what that looks like. So I've actually created a team for this particular demo. It's called Accounting Team Demo for BC. And within there, you can see that I have different sections of my team. Now, if you've never created a team before in Teams, some of you may not have done this before, and if you have permissions to create a team, you actually come down here to the bottom left corner, click on Create a Team, create a team from scratch. Typically, you want to make it private. You don't want everyone having access to it. Give it a name and hit Create. Now, again, this is going to be based on your organization's policy for creating teams. So you have to figure out what your policy is. But once you have a team, you'll go ahead and add users within your organization to the team. If you don't want to do that yet, you can actually skip this step, and then you have a team. That simple. Again, work with your IT department and make sure what your policies are for creating teams. But I'm going to go back to my demo team here because I do want to show you within my general post. Every time you create a team, it does have a general post. This is going to be kind of your landing page for your team, the home page, if you want to call it, for your team. And then within there, you're going to have different tabs up here at the top. So we'll go through these as we go through the presentation. Down here on the bottom, we're going to have channels. So creating a channel is pretty easy as well. You actually go to your 3-dot ellipsis, click on Add Channel, give it a name, decide if it should be everybody or private, and then go ahead and add your channel. So I've added some channels in here because I want to show you how easy it is to centralize the accounting function within Business Central and Teams. But within the general section, if I go to Files up here at the top, this will be all my file structure. I do have some files that I've created underneath these sub-channels, but this would be my main SharePoint landing file structure. But you will notice that in every place where there's files within Teams, you will see this open in SharePoint, which is pretty cool. So within that, I can actually take that SharePoint and show you that within here, I can actually access this through SharePoint or through Teams. So how does that help with the BC sync? Well, if I set up a SharePoint site, for my team. And then I take my SharePoint documents from BC and I export them to different folder structures within SharePoint. And I have these all in this central location. Everything from BC should flow through to my team. So copies of sales orders, copies of purchase orders, vendor applications, vendor 1099 forms, like a W-9, all should flow through based on those rules that I set up in the SharePoint connector. So I'm now taking data from BC, automatically syncing it, bringing it into SharePoint, and then syncing it back into the team. Pretty cool. So to illustrate this, I actually set up in here, let's go to like accounts payable, different files. And you can see in here, I just created some basic files for an accounts payable team, 1099, AP aging, vendor contracts. And again, I could open those up in SharePoint. And when I do that, I actually will see those folders. So if I want those documents to flow through using the SharePoint connector, I'll actually take the SharePoint connector and map them out to these different folders. Again, this is just a sample of folders. You can create whatever folders you want, but it's pretty cool. You could even create triggers using Power Automate, where you can say every time a new document is created inside of SharePoint, go ahead and send a notification to somebody, and somebody will get a notification. So you can do different cool things like that. But within here, you'll see that we can share all those documents. So that's a really, really good tip and trick where you can have all your documents in one central location and you're not having to pivot back and forth between SharePoint, BC, and Teams. Teams is going to give you the best of the both worlds. So it's going to be document storage and collaboration, which I'm going to show you in a minute why I think you should push the data into Teams, because we can just do our whole month-end process inside Microsoft Teams and not outside of the application. All right. Again, in order to get this, you do have to go to AppSource and download that free trial of SharePoint Connector. Let me know if you're interested in the product, because I can get a hold of Eric and get you hooked up with the SharePoint Connector, but it's a really, really cool product that I recommend if you're going to use Teams for document storage. All right, next tip, Teams for different areas. So you would notice in my Teams that I set up different areas within the accounting department. I don't have to necessarily have different teams. I can have one main team with different channels, which is what you're seeing underneath my team structure. I am setting up where I have accounts payable, accounts receivable, budgets, executive, finance. So all the different areas of finance and accounting that I could possibly think of. However, I may want to set up a team for operations and move some of these functions underneath that. That's fine. But the goal is to try to get all the files, all the storage, all the collaboration into one centralized location, right? And that is going to make my month end and year end process a lot simpler if everything is in the same place. So why do I do that? Well, number one, I can sync those SharePoint documents, which we talked about. I can sync lists, active lists that I can actually edit and export directly from Teams, inside of Teams. I can collaborate. I can share contact information. I can send updates. I can do a bunch of stuff with collaboration, all from the team. And then I can also have one version of the truth. So things that annoy me at month end and year end that I see happen in organizations is people are downloading files, making changes, emailing them out to someone else. Well, in the meanwhile, that person downloaded their own version. They've been working on that document. Now we got two versions of the truth, and we're not all on the same page, right? So the goal of Teams is collaboration. So we're all on the same page. We're working on the same documents, the same folders. We're all in the same location. So you're going to see use cases where this becomes very, very handy. The other great thing about Teams and SharePoint, documents are able to be restored. So, we always have the case where one person makes a change to a file and saves it and overrides what was there before. Well, within SharePoint and Teams, you can actually pull up version history and restore version history on files, which makes it really nice. So you can always see what version of history your file was at. So I love it for that area, for that reason. In here, you'll see my specific structure that I set up. I set up a page for accounts receivable, and I should say channel, not page, accounts receivable, budgets, executive, finance, manufacturing, purchasing, and sales. And these are the areas I'm going to be covering today with some different ideas and topics about how you can collaborate with inside Business Central. And you can also do this with CRM as well. So those of you who are D365 CRM users, which I highly recommend if you're using Business Central, you can also do this as well. So that's kind of how I set up different areas. Again, you could do different teams, different channels. It's kind of up to you. All right, so tip number 3, teams for sales. How can we use Teams in Business Central for our sales users? So one reason I love collaboration inside of Teams is that I can have a lot of different tabs that are associated with the team, and I'll show you that in a second. Within there, I can sync contacts, I can sync customers, I can sync opportunities and leads. All those pages I can have within inside the team. And rather than leave Teams or leave SharePoint and go find all this data, I actually can access it right through Teams. I can export it to Excel, I can make new changes. Anything I want to do can happen right there inside the Teams channel. I can create lists of open opportunities for BC and CRM, and then I can save them as a tab inside of Teams. I can also collaborate inside of Teams on ops, and I can share customer contact information with inside the team, which is really cool. So let me show you here what this would look like. And I think I may have put that one on here on the general tab, but I'll just show you what that looks like. So remember, we have down here on the left, we have our channels. Up here on the right, we're going to have what we call our tabs, all right? And when I want to add a new tab, I'm just going to go here to the top, and it'll tell me add a tab. And here you can see some of your favorite friends. You can see Power Automate, you can add websites, you can add lists, which is like to do in Microsoft. You can add PDF files, Excel, forms, all kinds of stuff in here. But there's also a ton of applications that are outside of just the Microsoft space, which is really cool. So you can come in here and see if your organization is using any of these and then add them as tabs as well, which is really cool. I'm not going to go outside of the Microsoft space today, but I just wanted to mention that there's a bunch of apps here. Like I use Smartsheet. It's one of the tabs that you can add, which is fantastic. But in this case, when I'm collaborating with BC, I actually did something cool, which is I used Power BI with BC. Okay, so I actually went in and I did Power BI. And within Power BI, it's actually going to take me to my list of published dashboards that I can choose from, my workspaces. Now, I can't see anything else outside what I have access to, but if I do have access to it within my organization, I can actually go in and choose that particular dashboard, and I can hit save. And it's actually going to go out and refresh my Power BI dashboard and bring it into Teams, which is really kind of cool. So if you have questions about this, you can put them in the chat and I'll answer them later. But essentially, you're taking your Power BI data and putting it directly in Teams. Pretty cool. So right now I'm in my test database, but in here you can see that this is bringing CRM data, not even BC data, inside of Teams, which is awesome. Now when we get to finance, I'll show you some of the Power BI dashboards out of the box for finance, for Business Central, but this is a Power BI tab. So now if I go back home to my general tab, I can actually see that here at the top. Here's that new dashboard. And when I click on it, it's actually going to run Power BI. There's that little refresh, and it's going to go out and pull me the latest data. And within here, I can go back and forth in between different pieces, which is really kind of cool. So we have our little sales analytics there. Love it. All right, what else can I do for my salespeople? Well, within my salespeople, I can also pull my Business Central data. So I want my salespeople to see a full list of customers. Now I can do this for contacts and leads as well. Just going to do it for customers for this demo. So I have actually gone out and associated a whole customer list inside of Teams. So I don't have to leave Teams to go pull my customer list. Now people are like, okay, well, it's a list. That's great. Oh no, it's so much more. It's interactive. So I can actually drill into my customers, and while I'm in there, I can see their open sales orders, or I can go to their invoice all here directly with Teams. Wow, that's pretty cool. I also have the capability, if I wanted to, of going back and going to page and opening this in Excel. Pretty cool. And when I open it in Excel, it's actually going to pop open an Excel file. And then if I wanted to, at least I think it opened in Excel. We'll see what it does. I was thinking. If I wanted to, I could go back into Teams, into my files, and actually create a new customer list file, and then upload that data into that. So that's pretty cool. So I can actually go back to files, create a new folder, call it customer list, go to the customer list, go to upload files, pull that file, and upload those customers right there into that Teams folder. So that would be as of today. And then I can open that in Excel. So I'm opening that in Excel directly in Teams. Now, one word of advice, if you're opening Microsoft products inside Teams, sometimes they look a little funky and sometimes they behave a little funky. What I recommend doing is not downloading the file, okay? Because if you download it, you're not in the same version as everybody else. But there is a cool little function in here that you can go open in Desktop app, and it will actually open this up in the Microsoft Desktop app. But I'm going to have to pull that over to the screen. But it will tell you you're editing now in Excel or Word or whatever you're editing it in. You're going to edit it in that file, and then you're going to bring it back over and edit it from there, okay? And how do I know when something is being edited by another user? Well, if you notice up here in the left-hand corner, I have this little save button and it has the little arrows on it. This means that the changes that I'm making are live, okay, with Teams and SharePoint. And then over here on the right where it says share, if somebody else is looking at the file, you'll actually see their initials over here in your organization. You'll see my initials are SM. I would see somebody else in this file. And then I also will see their color. I'm pink, maybe somebody else is blue. I'll see their color on the cell that they're in, which is really cool. So as I'm saving changes and as they're saving changes, we're in the same document, making the same changes. When I close this out, everything is saved right up there inside of Teams, which is pretty cool. So that's where I'm talking about collaboration. Honestly, in my organization, if somebody sends me a file, I'm like, nope, we're not doing that. Like, you have to open it in Teams and send me a link from there. So that being said, you can copy a link directly from the file, or you can come in here and then on the file, if you click on the little ellipsis, you'll notice in here that you can copy a link. Now, when you copy the link, it'll save that link right here. It'll be a link back to Teams, or you can link it back to SharePoint. You can copy that link and then you can embed that in chat or wherever you want to embed that. In fact, I'll just show you one cool thing that you can do with it. If I go back to General here, in my conversation board, which is my homepage with posts, I could actually link that file right there. And then folks can click on it right there, take them into the Teams folder. So that's how I recommend collaboration on documents. Now, I can also make edits to the customer list directly within BC, which is what I was showing you there at the beginning. So if I go back to my customer list and I want to add a new customer, I do not have to leave Teams to do that. I can actually be in this list. I can go to new, and I can create a new customer directly from here, which is pretty cool. So again, order entry people, sales people, anybody who's in there working. And this does not just have to be BC. This can also be CRM. So you can link your website pages to CRM. All right. And then I can go back and now I have company customer number 4. This is all real time. There's no save. There's no auto save. That's the great beauty about Business Central. There's no save or no one else sees it. That's not happening. It's all real time. How did I get this on here? All right. So here's what I did. All right. I'll show you a cool little tip and trick. And let's add contacts to this page. So I'm going to bring over BC. Here's my BC. And I'm going to go ahead and search for my contacts page. Right? And when I get there, if I want to add any filtering, I can. If I just want to have the full contact list, I can do that as well. And within BC, I can personalize this page if I want to before I add it. By going to personalize, add field, and maybe I want to add mobile phone number. Just add a couple things here and zip code, right? Personalize my page, get my list ready, and then once it's ready to go, I actually just take this full URL, right? This is the access to that page. I'm going to go back into Microsoft Teams. I'm going to go to my sales list. I'm going to add a new tab. And instead of Business Central, because it's kind of weird, it doesn't give you a BC connector in this page, though I wish it would, I'm here just going to say website. And I can call the website whatever I want. In this case, I'm going to call it contact list. And then I'm going to put the URL in. All right. And then this post to the channel about this tab, that will make an announcement on that homepage that I've gone in and posted something to the sales page. All right. So now I have my contact list, which is great. And Here it comes. There we go. And so now I have my full list of contacts. Again, I could click new here, add a new contact on the customer contact form, add communication, all those different things. Go to page, dump it in Excel, edit in Excel, all here directly from BC and Teams. Pretty cool. So those are some interactive ways that you can do that. You also have the capability to post about BC things in your channel. So if you go into a new conversation or a chat with a coworker, when you start typing in or starting a new conversation, you'll actually see the BC adapter back down here. It looks like a little lifeguard. I always think of it as like the lifeguard tube. But that little lifeguard tube is where we're going to find BC. How did I get BC in here? I went over here to the 3 ellipses. I went to find an app, and I just typed in Business Central, and then I saw it here. And then when I clicked on it, it asked me to sign in, and that's how I got it. Once you sign in, you don't see anything, okay? In order to access it, you are going to have to be in a conversation. So I'm going to go into BC, and I'm actually going to search for that company Atanum. I don't know how to say that because it's a test company. But I actually can start searching for a customer or a contact within here. So here's that customer, Additum, I think it's Additum, within here. And then here's Robert Towns that works for them. So I can share either or. I can share the customer contact or I can share the company. And when I share it, it'll actually pop it out here in the chat, and then I can just hit publish. And the user will actually see that contact here. And from there, they can click on details, and it will actually open up BC in a new page, which is pretty cool. And it's signing me in. We'll see how funky this behaves, because sometimes with the O data, it's a little funky. Let me try it again, because it had to sign me in. There we go. That's better. It'll try to sign you in the very first time because it's authenticating, which is good. We want it to do that. However, sometimes it's a little funky. All right. Again, have to be a Teams viewer at least to be able to see the BC data. Okay, people ask me that. Do I have to be a Teams viewer? Yes, you do. For the CRM share, you do not. Starting in the fall, you can actually share customer contacts and vendors without being a full user or a Teams viewer, which is interesting. But with BC, you do have to have at least that Teams viewer. And then in here, you can see the contact. Again, you can navigate to any of the contact information, and that's all here within Teams. If you want to, you can also pop it out and just open it up inside of Business Central. Okay, so 2 different options there. But that is the sharing function within Business Central and Teams integration that's available right now. What do I want to see happen in the future to Microsoft if they're listening? I would love to see the fact that we can share orders, invoices, documents all within here as well without having to list the lists. But that's just my future hopes and dreams. All right, so that gives you kind of an idea of what you can do. So other ideas outside of contacts, sync your Power BI dashboards. I showed you guys that. So you can see your sales metrics in the same place that you see your contacts and your customers. Create lists of open opportunities in BC and CRM and save them there. And then collaborate inside Teams on those ops and contacts, which you can do as well. Now you can take an opportunity, you can open it up, copy that URL and just paste it in a conversation as well. So if you want someone to look at something and they're a BC or CRM user, put that there in the chat, they'll open it up and they'll be able to see that because it's all web-based. All right, moving on. Tip number 4, Teams for customer service. Now, those of you who are using CRM, you know that CRM has a customer service component, customer service app. And you may have customer service people in BC and CRM or vice versa. But within this customer service piece, I recommend setting up a customer service team. What I recommend doing is syncing your customer, order, and invoice lists inside of D365, all inside of Teams, so users don't have to leave to go facilitate cases. You can also sync the case management piece of customer service inside of Teams as well, so users can view cases and they can actually create cases in there. Collaborate on new contacts and documents with fellow team members. Use Power Automate to send reminders and team alerts. So within Power Automate, you can send new notifications when something happens. Now, for those of you who don't know, Power Automate also lives inside of Teams. And within there, there's a bunch of different Power Automate flows that you can actually run from Teams as well, which is pretty cool. So you can notify a team when a new item is created in SharePoint. You can follow up on messages, create a work item from a message. You can do different things with case management. So if you've never worked with Power Automate, I highly recommend you check it out. It's really kind of a cool tool, but you can create those Power Automates as well. So if I go back to my team, if I go to, actually, I don't think I created one for customer service here. Probably should have done that. But within customer service, I probably want to create like a case management piece within there, just like I did any of these other websites. And then also a place where I can actually create cases. Now, there are Power Automates that will allow you to create cases and send them directly to the team as well. It's kind of cool. But so thinking outside of the box of different things that you can do with the customer service piece. Next up, tip number 5, teams for purchasing. So your purchasing department, things that purchasing would probably like to see inside their teams. Again, just ideas throwing out there of what I may want to see. So syncing vendors, requisitions, or what we call purchase quotes, purchase orders, items, and purchase returns all inside teams as various tabs. Collaborate on purchases directly inside of teams, including approvals. Hey, did someone see this? Can someone approve this? You could actually put the document directly in a Teams chat and notify someone to remind them to approve it. Store copies of purchase orders and invoices using the SharePoint connector. So take that SharePoint connector, take copies of the documents, and send those over. Create Power BI dashboards on purchases to date, outstanding purchase orders, and expected delivery dates, all inside of Power BI embedded in Teams. And then get Teams alerts when new items arrive. Maybe you want to see when a new PO has arrived. Go ahead and set up a Power Automate with those notifications. So in here, I did create a sample purchasing, and I just did some basic work here. Created a few folders, contracts, purchase orders, vendor agreements that I can sync with BC. And then created a couple different lists up here. So purchase orders, again, because I'm pulling the purchase order list up through BC, I can download it, I can view them, I can edit them, and then I also can create new POs directly from here. And then if I need to quickly see a vendor, I can toggle over to my vendor list and again, pull my full list of vendors, download them, edit them, add them, whatever I need to do, all here from one team, which is pretty cool. All right. Teams for payables. We know our payables department does a lot of work to get everybody paid on time. And when we're doing payables, we're going to set up a very similar team. We're going to have our vendors, our purchase orders, our invoices, our payment journals, all inside of Teams. Another cool idea and tip and trick, review your 1099 information. So those of you who have to review information for 1099s at the end of the year, create 1099 vendors as a list, collaborate on them inside of Teams. You guys can all use Teams to elaborate and collaborate on outstanding accounts payable, figure out what payments we're going to make. Again, you could chat somebody in the conversation, hey, should we pay this? Put a link to the document, get an answer back quickly. Store copies of purchase orders, invoices, returns, all using the SharePoint connector through payables, and then create your Power BI dashboard. So payments to date, outstanding payments, and spend by vendor. And then you also can get a Teams alert when a new invoice, you can get a Teams alert in the team when a new invoice has entered the email inbox, which is pretty cool. So my sample accounts payable, I have on my files, AP aging reports, 1099s, vendor contracts. Again, I would probably add some folders for invoice, purchase order, purchase returns, those kind of files, so I can sync those with BC. Up here at the top, I have outstanding AP and my list of outstanding AP, so all of my outstanding invoices that I can review and figure out what's going on. You notice in BC, everything in red is past due, and so I can go in and I can actually process a payment, or I can zoom into the document, whatever I want to do directly here from Teams to review that open AP. I also have a vendors list here. Again, I can add other tabs, whatever I want to make it. It's really cool because you can kind of make it your own for your team. All right, tip number 7, teams for receivables. Setting up your receivables team inside. Again, going to be very similar to sales, syncing customers, invoices, returns, and cash receipt journals all inside Teams as various tabs. Review outstanding AR reports. So take those reports, publish them, and then publish them into the team so you can view AR aging directly inside of Teams. Collaborate on customers and transactions inside of Teams. store copies of sales orders, returns, invoices, and cash receipts using that SharePoint connector, create Power BI dashboards for receipts to date, AR aging, outstanding invoices, and spend by customer. And then get Teams alerts when payments become past due, so you can go ahead and trigger an action. You also can use Power Automate to send notifications to customers. iSolutions has a really good AR aging with dunning notices app out there. But on top of that, you can even just use regular Teams to send alerts out to customers when their documents become past due. And again, on here, on my AR aging or accounts receivable team, I've actually created files for different documents like the AR trial balance, collection notices, and write-offs. I've created the open AR tab, and I've created a customers tab. Again, sky's kind of the limit on what you guys want to create out there, but pretty cool. One other note that I forgot to add in the other sections is that you can also add OneNote, which is pretty cool. I do that a lot. And within that OneNote, that can actually be your notebook for the folder, meaning anytime somebody takes notes, they can actually add the note inside the folder, which is pretty cool. And so I can just call this AR, maybe, there we go, save it. And then in here, when I set up the AR folder, I can actually go in and take up notes up here as a tab as well, which is pretty cool. So in here, I can come in and I can say notes, and I can take those notes. And again, anyone who reads them can read them here. So if I have notes on a customer, if I want to tag different people, I can put tags in here, put sticky notes, all kinds of stuff. I can put that directly here inside that Teams folder as well, which is pretty cool. So just another cool little tip and trick for using Teams inside of here. All right, tip number 8, Teams for manufacturing. Setting up your operations manufacturing team inside of Teams. So with manufacturing, you can sync things like items, output journals, consumption, open work orders, item receipts, all inside Teams as various tabs. Review daily production and items on hand directly inside of Teams. So have that inventory on hand report like I'm showing here on the right. Collaborate on items and transactions inside of Teams, create Power BI dashboards for output journals, consumption, raw goods consumed, production time, etc. And then give Teams an alert when production stops or daily production goals are not made. Again, just ideas of things you can do with manufacturing, just some cool things that you can do inside the box. Tip number 9, Teams for finance. Again, set up your finance team so you can do your whole month-end, year-end close, quarter-end close, all directly within Teams. Within your tabs, you can sync your chart of accounts, fixed assets, posted ledger entries, budgets, and other different tabs that you use inside of Teams. Review daily cash reports inside of Teams. Create Power BI dashboards on account, cash reporting, P&L, balance sheet, and cash flow, or use the out-of-the-box Power BI like shown here on the right. Sync back up to journal entries and budgets all in the same area using that SharePoint connector, so all those document attachments. And then create team alerts when journal entries are unposted or account balances go over budget. Again, just some tips and tricks that you can do for that. If I go back to my Teams folder, I can go into my files and I can actually see in here that I could create some of those folders, but I have connected Power BI for Business Central, which is the financial dashboard out of the box. In fact, I did not sync it to my live data, but I do have it here. And here you can just see some of the out of the box Power BI dashboards that you could hook up and connect into your Teams, which is pretty cool. So these are all just out of the box reports. If you want different ones, you can create those with Power BI and then publish them and be able to view them here. All right, last tip and trick. Teams for executives. So your executive team, your leadership, who needs reports, right? They love reports, and we want to limit what they get. Different reports I've seen with leadership: cash on hand, daily reports, sales month to date, sales year to date, purchases month to date, purchases year to date, production reports, and more. You can set those all up on tabs. Review daily cash balance reports inside of Teams. Now you could create those in Jet and publish them to SharePoint. You could pull daily cash reports directly out of the chart of accounts by filtering on cash and then showing them what the balances are. Probably not recommended. And then you can collaborate on those reports and metrics directly inside of Teams. Creating Power BI dashboards, you can do that on all your operational and financial metrics that your leadership team wants to see, and then publish them directly in. Publish all those reports using BC or Jet. and view them directly from Teams, which is pretty cool. So in here, I just showed a sample of taking the Intelligent Cloud Insights page from BC and publishing that into Teams for your executives. And again, you could send new Teams alerts every time new reports are ready to view. Last but not least, other cool Teams features. We have additional use cases using OneNote and other apps as tabs. Call internal users directly using Teams. So if you have a question, you can actually just call a friend inside the organization. Take and use polls inside of the team. So there's a feature called polls where you can, ask your team different questions and have them polled. Other apps to consider, D365 for sales. So they have their own adapter inside Teams. Smartsheet, for those of you using project accounting, can be embedded in Teams. Visio, for those of you who like diagrams. And then you can also create wiki pages with Teams history. So a wiki page on how to do month-end close, how to do accounts receivable. You can put all those notes and work instructions inside Teams directly, which is pretty cool. All right, looks like we got a lot of questions in the chat. I'm excited for questions and I can't wait to answer them for you live. If you have more information or you need anything else after the presentation or after this live chat, go ahead and feel free to reach out to me in any of these contact methods. And thank you so much for attending my session. Thank you to DynamicsCon for allowing me to present today, and looking forward to answering some of these great questions. Hello, everybody. Excited for questions. We'll be here answering any questions you have. I've seen some really good questions come up about Dynamics 365 and Power Automate and Power BI, especially a lot about Power BI. And we have our Power BI expert kind of monitoring this, and she's with us today, Belinda Allen, and in the chat all morning long. So very, very excited to be part of this conference and answering your questions. So I know there's a lot of questions about Dynamics 365 for sales and what you could do or not do with that. So because D365 for sales is very cloud-based, just like BC, you're going to be able to take that link just like we did in BC and use that to automate through Teams. So anything that has a URL or a login like that, you can definitely use that and put that into your Teams, which is pretty cool. So I'm really excited, that we can bring the best of both worlds. So we can get Power BI, we can get Dynamics 365, and we can get Dynamics 365 for sales in there. But to answer someone's question, they asked about contacts and leads. Just so you know, there is a adapter for Dataverse that you can hook up that will hook your D365 for sales data with your Business Central data automatically, so you don't have to worry about which side it's coming from. And so we've done that inside of our Business Central and a lot of clients' Business Central as well, which is really exciting. So, ways to think outside of the box, ways to think about things. On the chart of account side, someone talked about an alert for Power BI or in Power Automate, actually, to say, if there is a new chart of accounts, can I get an alert? Well, you could do that with Power Automate just out of the box with the adapter, but there's also a Teams Power Automate adapter or app, we should say, that you can hook up as well. So there's a lot of Power Automate going on within Teams right now. And if you guys are looking for Teams training, I do Teams training as well. I know this was kind of a BC focused conference, but I wanted to see, how can we leverage the Microsoft stack the way that Microsoft wants us to leverage it? I will say, I know this wasn't a question that anyone had, but in the new version of BC, the one that's just being released this fall, you actually will be able to take contacts and share them in Teams on the BC page. So there'll be a share in Teams button at the top, and you can say, share this contact, share this customer. I have not seen it on sales documents or purchase documents yet, but I'm hoping it's there. I was going to test this weekend and didn't have time. But so cool that you can actually take that data and just share it with Teams, because really the point of Teams is using it for collaboration within your organization and not sharing documents all over the place. And I know a lot of people ask questions about SharePoint. I would definitely recommend going to eFocus and getting the SharePoint adapter for BC, because that is going to take that data and sync it with BC, with CRM, and with Teams all in one place. So that's a fantastic way to kind of centralize that, put it all in one place, and make sure that your team has one version of the truth. That's what I like to call it with SharePoint. And someone asked, is SharePoint backed up? you can back up SharePoint forever based on your policies. You can also control security. So from a security standpoint, SharePoint is one of the securest ways to share your data. And at Arbela, we take security very seriously. So for us, there's nothing outside of SharePoint that, we feel comfortable in creating those document shares. And it works with Dynamics 365 for sales out of the box. Now, I did see that something's coming up in the new release of BC where you will be able to sync that automatically within Business Central. And again, I haven't had a chance to try that. We'll see what happens. But super, super excited. Anyone have any questions, just let me know in the chat. I'll stick around for one more minute, but I thank everyone for coming out to this presentation. Love talking about Teams, love talking about BC. I love talking in general, but this is just one of those times where I will actually talk about this, and very excited to see everybody, and thank you for coming to my presentation today.